drives the ball in the air and a brilliant catch.
Keep up with all the cricket action with the Test Match Special podcast.
And he's hit it clean as a whistle back over the long leg boundary.
Exclusive interviews and in-depth analysis on every series.
That batting lineup can stand up with the best in the world of any country.
Then he goes and bowls to Butler. That must have gone, surely.
The Test Match Special podcast. Listen on BBC Sounds.
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Hello and welcome to the Scottish Football Podcast. I'm Iona Ballantyne, and as we look ahead to the 2024-25 season, we're publishing previews for each of the 12 top flight teams. Indispensable wee guides to what to expect and to look out for from each of them. And this one is dedicated to the side who finished 5th last season, St Mirren.
And it falls smashed into the top corner. Oh, it's absolutely wonderful. What a hit that is from Caelan Boyd-Munns.
O'Hara swings the right foot cross in. Mandan wins the header. Oh, it's in! St Mirren's top scorer levels things here in Renfrewshire. Bouncing ball's only half away, and Mark O'Hara rifles it home. Hammered home, right footed, bottom left corner. And that is a wonderful strike for O'Hara.
The Scottish Football Podcast from BBC Sports Scotland.
Now, joining me for this one, former St Mirren captain and newly appointed academy coach Stephen McGinn, and Pie and Bovril founder and St Mirren fan Div MacDonald. Thank you both for joining us. How are you both doing?
Good, thanks, Iona.
Very well, thanks.
And Stephen, for the new job, how's that been?
Yeah, I've loved it. Pre-season for 18 years, absolutely dreaded, but absolutely loved standing with my whistle and my stopwatch, and a totally different feeling, and really enjoyed it.
And tell us, what's your approach to coaching? What are you like as a coach?
Well, just at a playing, try and remember how tough it is to be a footballer and be the roller coaster. So, but already in day 2, I've did a drill that I always said I wouldn't do, always hated. So, but no, try and build relationships with players. Obviously, build a team. I've always been huge on it being a team game, and the team always comes before the individual. So, just trying to get that into the boys, and obviously my main job is to try and get 1 or 2 into the first team.
Oh, brilliant, Stephen. What a change and what a start. And Div, what about you? How's your summer been? What are you looking forward to coming up?
I'm just back from Germany, so I'm slightly broken. I'm really looking forward to the season starting. Obviously, it's a really exciting one for St Mirren, given what we're about to embark on our first European trip. So I'll be broken on that as well. So it was pretty much like a pre-season campaign for me as well. Getting ready for Albania or Iceland now.
Yeah, just remember that feeling. That'll be with you for a long time, won't it? Now, before we look ahead, let's quickly recap last season for the Buddies. Now, after topping their League Cup group, they started the Premiership season with a 3-2 win away at Hibs. And after 7 matches, they were second in the table. And it wasn't until match day 15 that Hearts finally overtook them in third. They were knocked out of the League Cup 4-2 by Hibs at the quarter-final stage. Celtic knocked them out of the Scottish Cup in the 5th round, but with 47 points, they finished in 5th place in the league, and in doing so qualified for the Europa Conference League 2nd qualifying round, the first time they've been in Europe in 37 years. Mikael Mandron was their top scorer and Alex Gogic their player of the year. I mean, when you hear all of that, what a rollercoaster season, Stephen. How would you sum it up?
Amazing. In my first spell at St Mirren, always, you spoke to fans, you spoke to people within the club. Obviously, Tony Fitzpatrick being a big one. There was 2 things that you were asked to deliver. One was a major trophy, and the other was bringing European football back to Paisley. They were always 2 of the big things. Obviously, in the last 10-15 years, the club's won a League Cup, we've won a trophy, but there was still that bit of, can the fans go on a European tour? And in the last year or 2, the boys have got so close, got to the split, or just before the split, and just missed out. So to finally achieve it, and you can just tell with the buzz around the town on social media, all the anticipation of Albania or Iceland, how important it is to the fans. And there's generations of St Mirren fans have not been able to go. I'm sure Div will speak about how excited he is. But they were always the key messages. Could you get this club back to Europe?
Well, what a time to be a fan, Div. Out of all your years, how would you sum up last season?
I don't know, it was amazing. I mean, we had so many highs last season, so many great results. Beating Aberdeen 3-0 at Pataudry.
Greg Kiltie from the spot, makes it 3. Insult to injury for Aberdeen as Greg Kiltie tucks away the penalty in extra time. A fine effort from Kiltie. Kellerus, no chance. St Mirren ends 2023 with a flourish. What a year it has been for the Paisley side.
Beating Hibs 3-0 at Easter Road.
Stepping down and Mandron applies the finish. St Mirren have a third. The icing on the cake of a strong first half for Stephen Robinson's side.
Sealing 5th place with the win at Dens Park, and the 2 goals in the last minute of Oakley Aberdeen.
But it's St Mirren who are breaking. Alisanya to Iunga. McMenamin. This would really hurt Aberdeen. McMenamin floats it up. There's the headed chance and it's in! Tayosi Alisanya has won it for St Mirren in the most dramatic of circumstances. 2 goals.
There were so many great memories. And that is a dream come true. I mean, I was, despite my hairline, I was 15 when St Mirren last played in Europe, and so I was lucky enough to go to the home games, but at that time I wasn't able to go to away games, so it's been a dream of mine to go and see the team away from home in Europe, and everybody's absolutely buzzing about it. It's going to be really exciting. We're all kind of praying it's Albania, to be perfectly honest. Iceland's going to test the budget, but wherever we go, we'll be there, and we'll take a really big support across, regardless of which one it is, so really looking forward to it.
Just keeping with last season, Stephen, what are your highlights?
Well, obviously, from my association with the club, I know how important it was for Europe. At the time, 5, 6, maybe 7 years ago, Tony Fitzpatrick spoke about the club being a top 6 in European football. So that's got to be the highlight for me. I know the criticism Tony took at the time, but I knew he was the chief exec at the time, I know how much the club means to him. I know he wasn't doing it in a bad way. He spoke to us all the time about, look, we know we're building as a club. And probably one of the main things for me going back and seeing the infrastructure of the club, everything's got better. The crowds are up at the stadium. Average attendances are way up. The training grounds had a lot of money spent on it. The standard of player, I mean, there's international players dotted about the squad. I mean, regular international players. So it's just such a healthy place that the club's in. And as I said, for me, the highlight just from, I know within the walls, it was always such a big ambition. And I'll definitely be there for the home leg. I'd love to be there for the away one, to experience the atmosphere, because I know how special it will be.
It will be so special. And that's the thing, there's so many positives. If you could score last season out of 10, Stephen, what would you score it?
Putting a score on it, it's difficult, I suppose, because the cups, I know that the League Cup, obviously leading 1-0 at half-time, playing so well at Easter Road. I was at the first game of the season when St Mirren were brilliant at Easter Road, and when they went 1-0 up that day, I thought, what a chance to progress in the Cup. So I know that was a disappointing second half. The Scottish Cup, I thought they were brilliant against Celtic. And another day, genuinely, if they'd scored first, I think they could have won on the day. And the only probably frustration, if they were to assess the league as a whole, was their head-to-head record against Kilmarnock. I think ultimately that cost them 4th position, only taking 1 point out of the 12. If they were able to turn a few of those results the other way, they could potentially get 4th. But in terms of the significance of European football, I'd probably get 8.5.
8.5, good score. Div, what would your score be between 1 to 10?
I've got 8.5 down here, and I'm not even being funny.
No way!
I was originally thinking, it's going to sound really bad for an outsider to say, St Mirren finished 5th. You're never going to finish any higher than that. But I think Stephen's right. There was a couple of wee blips. The Kilmarnock thing is definitely a problem. We can't beat Kilmarnock, and we need to fix that. That's one of the things we need to fix this season. We lost at Livingston, St Johnstone and Ross County, and I feel as though against teams where the other teams maybe sitting back a bit more, we never really had a plan B. All our best performances were against teams that wanted to attack us, and we hit them on the counter, and we were really, really good at it. So as a tiny criticism, definitely 8.5. The Cup is a Cup. We've been really unlucky in the Scottish 2 seasons in a row to be drawing against Celtic twice. And that's my hope for this season, is that we can have another good Cup run. Obviously, the flip side of qualifying for Europe is we go straight into the last 16 of the League Cup without hitting a ball, which is great, and you're seeded. So fingers crossed we can get back to Hampden this season. It's another thing that some fans just, I know every fan loves it, but we just cherish going to Hampden, and it'd be great to get back there this season. So yeah, 8.5, spot on. Skipper's always right anyway, so 8.5.
If we look ahead to the season coming up, I'm going to ask for one more score. On a scale of 1 to 10, how optimistic are you feeling going into this new season, Div, and why?
I'm always optimistic, and especially with Stephen Robinson there. I think we've traded pretty well. Of the players we've lost, I think Zach, Hemming, Ryan Strain and Keanu Bacchus will be your three main ones. I think we've replaced the goalkeeper, Ellery Balcom, seems really good pedigree, quite high hopes for him. And I think we've got like Sir James Scott. I think we'll get more out of him, having had a proper pre-season. And then you're looking at the other kind of signings we've made, and I think they're pretty strong. The squad's looking good. We've got young ones coming through, which obviously Stephen's going to be helping with as well. There's no reason why we can't have another good season. Obviously, you're looking at Aberdeen and Hibs and thinking they can't possibly be as bad again as they were last season. So you get the two Glasgow clubs, the two Edinburgh clubs, the two Dundee clubs, Aberdeen. You've got some big clubs in there. So finishing top 6 has to be the aim again. It'll be very difficult. It's a very, very tough league this season. But yeah, I'm confident in Robbo. I'm confident in the squad. We've not had a massive turnover, which I think will really help us. And so, yeah, I'll go a 8.
I like that. Do you know what? It's still positive. It's still optimistic. Still room for improvement. Stephen, where would you score it?
Yeah, I don't really want to put a score on now that I'm in there. I need to deal with the manager next week.
There's no getting out of this.
But I'm like Div. I thought it was huge keeping a hold of Stephen Robinson. When you see managers leave elsewhere and you think of how experienced he is, how well he does as a manager in this league, I thought he was brilliant to keep a hold of him and be in charge of moving the club forward. I think there's always that little bit of dealing with European football. I think Kilmarnock's always just never get too carried away, obviously starting the season in European football and finishing it in the Championship. I think it's such a tight league, you always have to be wary of things like that. I think Zach Hemmings, Ryan Strain, huge misses. Let me give a shout out to Caelan Boyd-Munce. I thought for a long time Bacchus and O'Hara was just a staple of the St Mirren team. He came in and he was that good. He dismantled probably at the time the strongest part of St Mirren's team, and I thought he had a real top season last year and still a really good age. But yeah, just again try and cope with the demands. Hopefully it's not just one trip in Europe. Hopefully we've got a couple of trips to look forward to in Europe and deal with what the Sunday games bring, because that is the bread and butter. That is, we speak about the head-to-heads and how important they can be, and amongst that you've got rivals for the top 6 that you might have to be playing right away. You're playing Hibs. Hibs are going to be looking to be in that top 6 next season, and right away they'll be looking at St Mirren as rivals, so they'll be hoping that St Mirren leggy off the back of a Thursday night and playing them on a Sunday. So there's different challenges, but like Div said, the European bit's really something to be excited about, and they're due a decent cup. Like those cup ties is due, missing Celtic, keep them to the final.
Have we got a score of optimism, Stephen?
No.
No, we need one. Not letting you get away with
10.
this.
I'm in there now, 10.
Do you know what? Quite right. It's a good positive start to the season though. Like you say, and you mentioned Stephen Robinson as well. I mean, what's his secret to his success?
I mean, I from playing against his Motherwell team, you knew every time you turned up, and we went through a spell where we just couldn't beat them. They were always a really fit team, really good at set pieces for and against, really organised. And before, I mean, you obviously speak to people at St Mirren, even when I'm away from the club, they speak all the time about how in-depth he is with tactics and shape, and absolutely nobody is in any doubt of their jobs. And he puts serious demands on him. You only have to sit in that main stand at St Mirren Park to see how hard he works at the side of the pitch to organise and get his team going. So I think he's the main reason for the success, and as I said, he is the man to take the club forward.
Div, you must be really happy with how things are going under Stephen.
No, totally. I think we've made incremental improvements ever since he got the job. You know, we obviously took over from Jim, who was really popular at the time, and he completely changed the way that we played. And as Stephen says, we're a really strong, really fit, very organised side. Every player knows his job, and the fans absolutely love Robbo. You know, he's really endeared himself with the support. What I like about him is he's never too up nor too down. When we win games, he never gets too carried away, but when we lose games, he still is positive. I think that's really important, and as I say, the fans just love him. we've got a team we can all identify with. They're really hard working. That's the one thing that as a football fan you just expect that, but you don't always get it. But that St Mirren team will run through a wall for their manager, and we all love that, and that's why no doubt about it. Hard work's got us to where we've got to so far. And hopefully we can keep a hold of Robbo as long as we can, because I think we can keep on improving. There's no reason why we can't.
Now, Stephen mentioned a little earlier, just talking about the hopes for the season and hoping for a few European games. Div, I saw your face when he mentioned that. I don't know if it was delight or worry about how broken you will be should that happen. But just being back in Europe after 37 years, can you sum up what that means?
It means everything. I think it just means you're identifying again as a kind of a bigger club. You know, we all aspire, as Stephen said about Tony, you want to be ambitious. We are an ambitious club. We can see that in the boardroom. You can see some of the moves we're making, even bringing him back into the club, because Stephen is a winner, and that's what we're all about. The club is in as good a place as it's been off the park and on the park all at the same time. It's a really good, positive place to be at the moment, and Europe is a kind of cherry on the cake, but we want more of that. We want as many games as we can get. We don't just want it to be one game. I hope my wife's not listening in the other room there, but we want more than one game. We want cup semi-finals. We want to be competing top six. It's difficult and you can't get it every season. Of course you can't. Some seasons you just don't come up, show up, but that's got to be the aim. That's got to be the ambition. I think everybody at the club is united behind the manager, and that's a good place to start. So fingers crossed we can have another great season.
And that's the thing, Stephen, how big is it to be back competing in Europe?
Yeah, huge. I also think it's really difficult. I was obviously at Motherwell when my brother Paul played Sligo Rovers and took a lot of criticism for going out in those ties. Obviously I touched on the Kilmarnock one, Connor's Key a few years ago. What you come up against when you're starting a league season, you're starting and you're playing against a team that's a first competitive game. So right away, Reykjavik are halfway through their season. I don't think their Bainies are in the season, but they'll have 2 competitive games before they play St Mirren. So right away you've got that challenge of trying to get your players. They'll be fit, they're a really fit team. It's just that competitive edge. So Stephen Robinson's been around this country long enough to know the disappointment clubs have had at this stage in Europe, and he won't want to leave anything short. He'll be ready to go.
Now tell me, Div, what would you like to see change this season at St Mirren, if anything?
The Kilmarnock thing is definitely a problem for us, because it's now 2 seasons that we've not beaten them. The 5-2 game obviously sticks in the mind a lot, because we were 2-0 up and cruising in that game and playing well, and it was such a big game at the time.
St Mirren don't know what's hit them here. An incredible second half performance from Kilmarnock and David Watson, who'd been moved to right back, and he's still going here. David Watson's in behind! 5-star Kilmarnock!
So it felt so, as I touched on earlier, I think the not careless defeats, you can't go through a whole season without losing games, but the defeats at Livingston, St Johnstone, Ross County last season really did, they hurt a little bit, especially when we were very much better against the so-called bigger teams. So I think for me that's the one thing, again I touched on, I'd like to see us just vary things up a little bit against teams that are sitting more of a low block than the teams that are coming at us, and hopefully we can get more points against those. Although, to be fair, looking at the league, there's not going to be very many of them this season, so there's very few weak teams looking in that league at the moment. It's going to be right hard league, and everybody's going to think they can beat everybody. Hopefully a wee win against Rangers or Celtic next season would be nice as well. They never go amiss.
What about the opening weekend, Div? Hibernian there, it's a good one to get off to a good start.
It is, and I was at Easter Road for the first game last season, and it really did set us off because nobody was really expecting us to beat Hibs last season. We played really well. Obviously, they pegged us back from 2-0 to 2-2, and then we got the goal in the last minute.
He gets the cross in to Grieve. He's headed into the corner. Alex Grieve sprints off, cups his ear to the away fans, who jump for joy because out of nothing, St Mirren have regained the lead.
And I felt as though we really kicked on from there. And so it is difficult this season because we will have played on a Thursday night, but I think in front will probably be a full house in Paisley. Place will be rocking. Hopefully the sun will be shining and we can beat them again, because we had a great record against us last season, and hopefully that can continue next year.
Now, Stephen, tell me, what does success look like for St Mirren this season?
Yeah, well, I think in football you're held to your own standards. The expectation will be higher not just within the fan base, but probably across the league. As I said earlier, Aberdeen, Hibs, they all want to be in the top 6. They'll totally respect St Mirren because how hard it is to beat them, how good a job Stephen Robinson does. So within that, there'll be games like against Aberdeen, Hibs, where they'll see St Mirren's a direct rival. So it'll be hard in that sense in terms of getting to the later stages of the Cup. Can you be a bit luckier with the draw? If you're given a tie, maybe from a lower leagues, don't disappoint. Get through the ties you're meant to win, because all of a sudden you're at Hampden, and once you're there, anything can happen.
What does success look like for you, Div?
Pretty much that, yeah. Good cup run, challenging for top 6 again. That has to be the aim. I mean, the manager will tell you staying in the league has to be the first aim, and of course it is, but we have to look forward and upwards and look at the last 2 seasons as inspiration. We've got to take the monkey off our back. We're getting top 6. We've now done it twice. Let's try and do it again. Hampden would be great. European run. I'll just get a bit greedy now. Is
that positivity? It's why you scored an 8, wasn't it, for the season ahead?
Yeah, I mean, if you can't be positive before the season starts, when can you be? You know, it's especially on the back of the season we had. So, no, it is. It's all positive. You don't want to get carried away. It's really difficult. I don't think anybody's under any illusions. It's really difficult for St Mirren to get top 6 again, but we'll stay positive and Rob will be trust.
Iona, I've got fan expectations. I'm wondering if the drunkest St Mirren sport in 40 years can raise their game for the Sunday to bring that atmosphere against Hibs.
That's true. That is very true. It's going to be carnage. But I'm looking forward to the carnage. Bring it on, all the carnage.
Exactly, bring it on. And it's actually, I'm interested to know, Div, just in terms of last season and where St Mirren are now, where would that season rank in terms of your favourite seasons as a fan?
That's a good question. My favourite 2 seasons of being a St Mirren fan are actually 1999, when the Millennium Champions, 99-2000, when everybody had written us off and we came back and won the league. And again, I'm not just saying this because he's on it, but the 2018 Championship winning season, having gone from nearly being relegated to League One to then being champions. And I don't think you can ever underestimate how big a season that was for us, because you look at like Falkirk, when they dropped down to League One, how long it took them to get back. So those are my two favourite seasons as a St Mirren fan, even eclipsing winning the League Cup. And I'm old enough to have seen us win the Scottish Cup. But last season was definitely up there. It's definitely up there. I think winning silverware obviously is always what you're after as a football fan. So if we win a cup next season, that'll eclipse any of those 3. So we'll go with that.
Wow, it's some journey, isn't it?
It's always a journey being a St Mirren fan. It's never plain sailing, but it's always a lot of fun. So we've got a great support. I think the stadium in Paisley now is really, as Stephen will testify to, it's completely transformed. It's a real hard. Teams don't enjoy coming to Paisley anymore. The atmosphere on the ground's great. We've sold 4,000 season tickets already this season, which is again testament to all the good work that's going on, publicising and promoting the club. Keith Lassie's doing a great job as well. I could sit here and wax lyrical about every day at the club at the moment. It's just a good place to be, a right positive place. Long may it continue.
There's a good feeling about it. I'm going to ask the two of you for one more prediction. It's not a score, don't worry, but I'm intrigued to know a general prediction for how you think this season is going to go, or one specific thing you think could happen, Stephen.
A better head-to-head against Kilmarnock.
Div, what about you? What about a general prediction or one specific thing you think could happen?
I'm not going to predict where we're going to finish, because that'll come back and bite me. So, but I'm just going to go with a trip to Hampden. I'm going to go with a trip to Hampden. We're due a cup run, so that's the one thing I think we'll get this season. Good, a trip to Hampden, a victory over Kilmarnock. We will reassess both. Stephen and Div, thank you so much for joining us. Now remember, we'll have preview episodes dedicated to each Premiership team. So to make sure you're across everything you need to know as we head into the new season, subscribe to the Scottish Football Podcast on BBC Sounds and have push notifications turned on your phone settings. We will speak to you soon. Goodbye.
For everything you need to know about your team this season, download the BBC Sport app. All the latest news, goal updates, stats and scores, and insight and analysis. Just select your club to get the biggest stories and best content at your fingertips. What a result. Download the BBC Sport app for everything you need to know about your team this season.